Thanks, Amanda, and welcome everyone to a morning of meditation and the Feldenkrais method. Um, I am curious for those who are visible, how many people have done the Feldenkrais method before? Could you just maybe raise your hand or raise a hand? Oh, good. Okay. And for those who haven't, this is going to be perfectly fine for you as well. Um, We're going to begin the morning. It will be in two parts. The first will be just a meditation that will be a body-oriented, what I call somatic meditation. And this is just a sense of feeling the presence of the body, becoming aware of the different parts of the body. And we'll do that for a bit, and then we'll go into a Feldenkrais lesson. And I'll give you a little more background on the Feldenkrais lesson when we get there. So we'll just start off with a simple meditation. So just to give you a little background for myself, also, I've been teaching meditation and Feldenkrais method for probably about 30 years now. And it's something that is, I find very useful. Feldenkrais and meditation go really well together. I'll give you a little background when we get to the Feldenkrais part on the originator of the method, Moshe Feldenkrais. So that's a little bit about me. I've been teaching this in a variety of settings, Dharma centers, and sometimes educationally, different places like Esalen. So just to begin, get in a comfortable position, a sitting position, and you can do this sitting on a cushion, sitting on a chair, however you wish. And just simply feel the contact of your feet with the floor, just to begin. And let your hands be in a comfortable position. You don't have to look at the screen at all. You can look out into the room. In fact, it's probably better to just let go of looking at the screen for the moment. Keep the gaze out into the whole room. And as you feel the contact of your feet with the floor, just notice the sensations of that area. And then as you feel the contact of your feet, also become aware of the natural rhythm of your breathing. And simply rest in the natural rhythm of your breath, the inhalation, the exhalation. Not trying to change anything at all, just resting in the inhalation and the exhalation of the breath. So you're just settling into just sitting here. And just being receptive to what's happening. Meditation is a kind of natural receptivity to your experience. Just noticing what's occurring. So as you do the next parts of this meditation, I'd say let go of the idea of doing something right. You just do it the way you do it, whatever that might be. And that's fine. That's right for you. And now become aware once again of the contact of your feet with the floor and the contact of both feet. So you're just sensing both feet and also of both ankles. Not only aware of the ankles, imagine that you're actually inside your ankles. That the sense of awareness is not distant. It's as if you're really inside the ankles. You're existing in the ankles, which can be an odd feeling. Sometimes we have a sense of looking at other regions of ourselves. Here you're just being the ankles. And the ankles and the feet at the same time. And then become aware of both knees, the right and the left knee, as if you were inhabiting both knees at the same time. That is, not only aware of the sensations, but actually just being the knees, being in the knees or occupying the knees in your awareness, whatever language works for you, but you're just really being this part of yourself, the two knees. And now feel the space between the knees and the ankles. This is where your calf muscles would be. The bones coming down. And just occupying this area as well, as if you were living inside this part of yourself. You are anyway, but now you're just really focusing on that. And now move up and feel your hips, the right and left sides of your hips. However you do that, however that is for you. As if you are there in your hips. And now feel the space of your thighs between your knees and your hips. However that occurs for you. And if something seems challenging or difficult or confusing, you can always just come back to the natural rhythm of your breathing. In fact, if you notice you're holding your breath, definitely come back to the natural rhythm of your breathing to make it easier. Now feel the presence of your whole lower body, your hips, both legs, your knees, ankles, and feet, as if you were inhabiting or occupying, or whatever word works for you, this whole lower region of yourself. And as you do this, if you have your eyes closed, that's fine, or you can have your eyes open and just look out into the room you're in. And as you're occupying or inhabiting this lower region of yourself, you can just simply look out and notice what you see. And now moving upwards a little bit, feel the region of your abdomen and lower back, the lower part of your torso. As if you were inhabiting or occupying this region of yourself in or as awareness, as if you're in the very center of your torso, in this region. And you probably can feel the natural rhythm of your breathing, the way in which your breath moves this part of yourself. You might feel the area expanding with the inhalation, contracting with the exhalation. Whatever you notice is just fine. And now feel the region of your chest, your heart area. As if you're inside this region, as if your awareness is really right inside this region of your torso. You're inside, you're not on the surface. And you can feel this region also changing dimensions as you breathe, as you inhale and exhale. And whatever you notice is fine. Just being aware of, inhabiting this part of yourself. And now move up to your shoulders and just be aware of your shoulders, the right and left shoulders. Here too, as if you're just simply occupying or inhabiting this region of yourself, feeling both shoulders at the same time. You might notice if there's any sort of adjustments you make as you feel both shoulders at the same time. Maybe that affects the sense of your right and left side, or the way you're sitting. Might even affect your breathing. And now become aware of your neck, as if you're inside your neck, occupying this region. And become aware of your hands. Just feeling the presence of the hands on both sides, the right and left hands. And then feeling as you experience it from your shoulders down to your hands. So you're feeling the presence of your arms, again, as if you're occupying or inhabiting this region of yourself, both arms into your hands. You might notice that it might even be different on the left and the right sides. One side might seem more present for you or more available, or you're more aware of that area. Whatever you notice is just fine. And now become aware of your head. And as if you're right inside the center of your head, which may not actually feel like very much. We're very unaccustomed to actually feeling this region or sensing it, which is fine. But what kind of quality do you sense when you're just aware of or living inside of your head without having to even do a whole lot of thinking about it, just noticing this region? Again, you can always come back to the natural rhythm of your breath. Just simply resting in the breath whenever you wish. And now become aware of your entire body all at once, the presence of your whole body. However you do that, in whatever way that happens, is just fine. You're just simply sensing the whole field of experience of the body. And the mind, too. You might notice thoughts and feelings as well. You can notice other senses, sounds or sights or smells or tastes. but particularly you're aware of the presence of the whole body all at once. Notice if your sense of awareness or how you have a feeling of locating your sense is in any particular region of the body. And do you feel like your awareness or your sense of who you are is more located in your chest or your hips or your feet? Maybe that's happening, maybe it isn't. You're just checking it out. Just noticing how it is. And now, open your eyes and just simply be aware of seeing the room you're in and the space of the room. And notice that the room has space in it. And at the same time, you can close your eyes if you wish or keep them open. Sense not only the presence of your body, but notice if there are areas of your body which feel very open or perhaps spacious, where there's not a lot of density of sensation. That might be in your hands or could be anywhere, really. And then there are areas that have more density of sensation. So you're noticing areas where there's space, where there's a quality of openness, you could say, of the body, and areas where there's a sense of density of sensations. There might be a sense of discomfort, there might be a neutral sense of the area. You're just checking it out. And then just bringing your awareness to both the experience of your body, however you do experience that, and looking into the room and simply noticing how you receive whatever you see or hear, the sights, the sounds, the colors, the textures, but just simply receiving them. That is, not making any great effort to look at anything, but just simply being receptive the way you might be receptive out in nature to simply taking in a walk in the woods or sitting by the sea at a sunset. Just simply receiving everything, letting everything come to you, and noticing how you can be receptive in your whole body, just receiving whatever you see. And just sitting with this for a moment. Just simply receiving. And resting in the natural rhythm of your breath. Just simply receiving the whole range of experiences that occur as you occupy or inhabit, whatever words you wish, that sense of just being here and feeling the presence of the body and taking in the presence of this room and the space of the room. Just in a very natural way, just being with whatever is occurring. And feeling the presence of the whole body, mind. And let's come back for a moment and we'll just briefly talk about, if anyone has any comments, what it's like to do this particular meditation, this focus, where you are, in a very intentional way, occupying or inhabiting this sense of your own physicality, your own body, and how that affects the way you receive experiences, how you're with experiences. So for anyone who wants, you can turn your cameras back on and just take a few comments. We'll do a second part to this in a moment, but I just want to hear how it is for you doing something like this, how it is to simply occupy or inhabit your body in this way. If you have any comments, if you have anything you want to say. There may be nothing to say, which is fine. Was that Jan? Did you raise your hand? No? Go ahead. Nope. Okay. Dorothy, go ahead.
Thank you. I just like when I'm meditating, I'm trying to just be, trying not to think, but trying not to not think. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like to that you took the feet together and then just sort of took them as a whole, and it worked the way up the body so that when I got to the top, I did kind of feel like just a whole. That process actually helped me to embody that experience more than other ways of just sitting down and
Mm-hmm.
making it, expecting it to happen. I think that was a good introduction.
Okay. So the just doing this type of meditation gave you a sense of sort of being integrated in a way, being a
Mm.
whole
Hmm.
person, and that helped you with just being receptive to your experience. Okay, great. Yeah. Any other comments? Any other things you noticed that you want to report? Okay, then let's do a little bit more. So typically, you'll see with the Feldenkrais, we have different ways that we focus our attention in our body mind system, where we can get somewhat fragmented. We can feel like most of our attention is in a particular region of ourselves. So this type of meditation is really just checking out what's it like to be in the totality of the body. What is it like to feel that? What's it like to perceive when you're occupying your whole body in this way, in awareness? So with the Feldenkrais method, we're going to add on something that's much more specific than that, which is a particular way of looking at how we organize our movement and our perceptions together. And I'll give you a little bit of put up some slides so you can see what Feldenkrais is about a little bit more. Let me just do a share screen here. Whoops. Okay, so just to give you a little background, the Feldenkrais method is not a form of exercise. It's considered an educational system. And it was created by an Israeli physicist, Moshe Feldenkrais, who was also a martial artist. He helped introduce judo to the West. And he discovered this system through having an injury. He was an avid soccer player also, and he had a knee injury. And at the time, his doctors had said they could do surgery. It might help, it might not. And he decided instead to not do surgery, but to play with his own way of organizing his body to see if he could heal himself from this knee injury. And he found he did. And in the process, he developed this method, which has two sections to it. It has what's called functional integration, which is a hands-on method. And it has another part called awareness through movement, or ATMs. And both of them are sort of flip sides of the same coin. What they do is they use movement to help you become aware of your own natural way of doing things. That is, throughout the entire day, we are moving about or resting, and we do things in the field of gravity. You know, we reach, we turn, we sit down, we stand up, we walk. We're using our whole system to accomplish things. Paying attention right now as you are. You're sitting in a particular way. You're focusing in a particular way. So he developed a system of what he calls lessons, because it's not exercise, it's not mechanical, it's not repetitive, to explore these basic themes of embodiment, of how we are going about organizing our actions and perceptions. And so we are going to look at, particularly today, awareness through movement. And awareness through movement is going to be a simple lesson. You'll see we're going to do one that is in lying down to make it easier to do, in which we'll play with a particular theme. And the theme is going to be today just how we turn, how we rotate, and how the different regions of ourself that we just explored cooperate to create greater ease in rotating or turning. And why take this theme? Because we turn and rotate pretty much throughout the day in a variety of ways. I mean, simple things is when you back a car out of a driveway, you're turning to look behind you, or you're turning in a chair to look behind you to get something, or to change directions. It's a really basic movement pattern. So that's what we'll play with today. And we'll look at how the different regions of yourself cooperate to do that. We'll look at how you regulate that activity. And typically when you do that, an awareness through movement lesson, you'll feel much more integrated through your whole body. So the benefit of this system is that it can help with just simply functioning more effectively, and also can help in some ways with when you have pain or just a sense of difficulty or discomfort. It can quickly help to change that. Feldenkrais was really aware that we're just using meditation as a way to, using movement as a way to map ourselves, to know how we do what we do. He was onto something. He created this in the 1950s. He was onto something that today is called neuroplasticity. One of the doctors who introduced this was Norman Deutsch, a Canadian doctor, did a book called The Brain's Way of Healing, and he has a chapter on Feldenkrais. And the amazing thing about neuroplasticity is that you can change often aspects of your whole body system, not by just mechanical exercise, but by changing how these regions of your body are represented in your brain. So it's a pretty interesting system. It turns out in doing these movements and these lessons that actually doing less is going to be more beneficial than doing more. So you'll frequently hear me say, do less than you can do. And the reason for that is when we put in a lot of effort, when we do what Feldenkrais called trying to get to the goal right away, called it end gaining, you miss out on how you actually do something. You just go from A to B immediately. And in these lessons, you'll see we slow that down and you're just being with the process more. So that's a explanation of this. Really, to get it, you need to do it. But that's the idea in the system. So I could say any questions about this or things you want to ask before we actually do it? Oh, okay. We'll go ahead. So you're going to lie down on the floor, and you don't have to be looking at me. I'm just going to say what the lesson is. It's actually better that I don't demonstrate it because really you're just dealing with your own unique system. And that's the thing that you're discovering. To watch somebody do a lesson, it really isn't that productive because then you're just watching how they do it. So you're going to lie down on the floor, and when you lie down, get comfortable. If you need a little bit of a pillow under your head, that's fine. You can stretch out. You can use a chair or something to help steady you when you're going to lying down. And you can have your legs outstretched or your feet up, knees up and feet flat, just getting comfortable. And take your time to lying down. You can lie on a couch if you want. It's fine too. You just need to have some space. On either side of you. Okay, when you're lying down, just simply notice your breathing to start. Simply resting in the natural rhythm of your breath, just as you did when you were sitting. And simply become aware once again of the different regions of yourself. Where is your attention naturally drawn to? Do you feel certain regions of yourself more clearly than others? Whatever you notice is just fine. And become aware of the contact of your legs with the surface that you're lying on. Just simply where you feel contact. Become aware of the contact of your hips. Become aware of the contact of your back and your spine, your lower spine, your mid-spine, your upper spine. Become aware of the contact of your shoulders and your arms, where you've placed your arms. And become aware of the contact of your head, your neck. This is a way to start to get a sense of just how you actually represent yourself when you're lying down. Where does your attention go to? If you were dipped into a bottle of ink and blotted onto a white page, what kind of ink impression would you make? That would be your unique pressure signature. Where would there be more ink? Where would there be less ink or no ink at all? We'll come back to this at the end of the lesson. Now, bring your knees up so your feet are flat, and have each leg standing independently, if that's comfortable for you. And position the legs so you feel a sense of comfort in your hip joints. And as we do this Feldenkrais lesson, one of the key things to keep aware of is your own comfort. If you do any movement where there's any discomfort at all, you're probably doing too much. You need to do less. And if a movement itself is not comfortable and you just don't feel like you can do it, then don't do it, just imagine doing it. You'll still get some benefits. So your comfort is really key throughout this. And you can rest anytime you want, even if I'm giving directions. It's fine. Resting is an important part of a lesson. Now, with your knees up, each leg standing independently, slowly tilt your legs to the left and come back to the center again. Slowly, so you can feel each part of the movement, and you can feel the changing pressure contact on your hips. And do less than you could do. If you have to strain to bring your legs back to the center, then the movement is much too big. You want to pay particular attention to making the movements easy to reverse. So you're just tilting a little over and then coming back to the center. As you do this, you'll probably feel a change in the pressure contact of your feet and of your hips and maybe other parts of yourself. So you're noticing how far to go before you can naturally reverse back to the center. And this ability to reverse is so important. We often are good at getting ourselves into something. We're not as good at getting ourselves out. And that reversibility has to do with reversing course. So simple movement, tilting to the left and coming back. And then come back to the center and just pause for a moment. When you're ready, tilt to the right a little bit. And the same thing applies. You'll feel the changing pressure contact on your hips, probably an increase of pressure contact on the right hip, and then coming back to your neutral starting point. And once again, you're doing this in a way where it's easy to reverse the movement. The key question when you're doing movements is how can you make the movement a little easier, a little lighter, a little more enjoyable? A little less effort. Just a few times, noticing which regions are affected, which parts of yourself are affected by this movement. Good, and come back to the center. combine the two directions. You're going from right to left and left to right slowly, slow enough so you can feel each part of the movement. As you do this, notice if there's a way to accommodate the natural rhythm of your breathing to this simple movement. That is, where you're not holding your breath, where the breath and the movement can go together. As you do this, notice if you can relax your face, your eyes, and your jaw, and any other part of yourself that makes the movement a little bit easier, a little bit less effort. You might notice that certain parts of the movement maybe are a little bumpier than other parts. Maybe you can smooth it out a little bit. And remember, you can rest whenever you want, too. You might notice a difference in going to one side or the other. Maybe one side feels a little easier or more natural, or maybe not. And particularly notice that changing pressure contact in your hips as you move the legs, as you tilt them to the left and the right. And notice how tilting your legs to the left and the right can even affect your lower spine. Can you feel a little bit of a rotation happening in your spine as you tilt your legs? Good. And now decrease the tilting of your legs so you do less and less and less until you feel like you're in a kind of neutral middle ground where you could tilt to either side. So you're just going less and less tilting until you're in the center of the movement for yourself. And then if you wish, you can stretch out and relax, or keep your knees up, feet flat, whatever's relaxing for you. Just take a rest for a moment. And once again, simply notice where your attention is naturally drawn to. You did a very simple movement of tilting your legs. Notice if there are regions of yourself that were affected. Maybe there were, maybe there aren't. You could feel your right and left sides and notice if there's a difference in the pressure contact of your right and left sides. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. So you're just resting, and this is an important part of a Feldenkrais lesson, and just noticing how you affected yourself. We often take a lot of actions throughout our day, but we don't necessarily notice how our actions affect us. What effect do they have for our own sense of embodiment? And now bring your knees up, feet flat. Find a comfortable distance for the legs to stand independently. And now slowly roll your head a little to the left and the right, just a little bit to the left and the right, slowly. Slow enough so you can feel the changing pressure contact on your skull. Notice if there's a difference in the way you roll your head to the left or the right, if one side's easier. And remember that you don't need to go to the very end of the movement. Sometimes people just go right to the end of the movement and try to make it bigger. But in this approach, doesn't matter. There's no advantage, there's no need to make movements bigger. It's really about finding a range of movement that feels light and easy. That's the message you want to cultivate for your whole system. What's light, easy, and enjoyable? As you roll your head, you could also notice how that connects with the natural rhythm of your breathing. If you're holding your breath, you can stop and come back to just connecting with the breath and then rolling your head again. And suppose you let your jaw relax as you do this, and let your eyes relax or just sink into your head. And notice how far down into your spine does the rolling of your head go? Does it affect your neck or your cervical spine or going down further? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Now come back to the center, to that neutral center of the beginning of the movement. And if you're doing the rolling of your head with your eyes closed, just open your eyes this time, and as you roll your head, notice how your eyes like to get involved with the movement, if they do. As you roll your head to the left and the right, do your eyes look into the direction? Do they simply passively take in the view as you roll your head? How do your eyes like to become involved? And then suppose you actually looked a little bit into the direction of rolling your head. And you can do this with your eyes open, or you could have your eyes shut and also look into the direction. Either way, how does looking as you roll your head affect the way in which you roll your head? Does it make it easier, or is it the same? You're just checking this out. And can you accommodate this movement into the natural rhythm of your breathing? And then slowly reduce the rolling to each side until you come to the middle. And just pause for a moment. Notice how the rolling has affected you. Now you're going to connect the movement of your head with your legs and hip in a very simple way. You can tilt your knees and legs slowly to the left and the right again, slowly, in a size and pace that feels comfortable, that's light and easy, less effort, accommodates to your breathing. Feeling how the tilting of the legs influences your spine and other parts of yourself. And then at some point, let your head roll in the same direction as your legs are tilting, so your head and legs and hips are finding a connectedness to each other through your body, through your torso. And the head movement, again, doesn't need to be big, nor does the leg movement. It's really how do the head and the legs, when they're rolling from or tilting from one side to the other slowly, what's the connection you feel through yourself? Are there parts of yourself that become involved in the movement that make it easier for you? And again, can you let your jaw, your eyes, your face relax? Can you accommodate both the rolling of the head and the tilting of the legs with the natural rhythm of your breathing? And go at a pace that feels light and easy for you. Light and easy. And you can rest and pause anytime you want. How do you make this movement a little easier for yourself? And enhance, in a way, that sense of connectedness between your head and your lower body. Maybe you feel your ribs starting to move. Good. So they're really synchronizing with each other. And pause for a moment and come back to the center and just rest for a moment. You can rest with your legs outstretched if you want. That's fine. You can have your knees up and feet flat. The resting, the moving into no action is an important part of the lesson because it allows you to integrate and sense how you're affecting yourself. The changes that are occurring on a subtle level. And just noticing, if you wish, your breathing, the natural rhythm of your breath, the awareness of different regions of yourself. Just being receptive to the presence of regions that may be signaling you or highlighting themselves, or the whole body-mind system itself. Whatever you notice is just fine. Just simply taking in whatever's occurring. Just resting in the field of the experience. And now, one more time before taking a longer rest. This time, as you tilt your legs to one side, you'll roll your head to the other. As you tilt your legs to the left, you'll roll your head a little to the right. And again, you need to find what's a comfortable range of movement. So you're not going to the very end of the movement. You're not pushing against yourself in any way at all. You can make the reversal of directions light and easy. So the head might roll to the left as the legs go to the right. When they come back, they cross through the center at the same time, and then again go to opposite sides. Again, it's not a stretch. Some people take this and go to a big stretch. This is not about that. This is about finding another orientation where you can feel a contrast in yourself somewhere in your torso as the head and the legs move in opposite directions. Again, it's not a stretch though. It's a light and easy movement. Less effort, accommodated to your breathing. Let your face, mouth, eyes, jaw relax. But do less than you can do. Do a little bit less than you can do. Because if you try, if you push harder, you'll create more noise in your system. So always looking for, how can I make this easier? How can I make this movement a little lighter, a little less effort, a little smoother, easier to reverse directions? And noticing how you're affecting all the different regions of yourself, your ribs, your spine, maybe your shoulders, your feet, your arms. It's changing pressure contact which is giving your system new information. And gradually reduce everything and come back to the center again and just pause. Maybe you need to readjust the position of your feet. And then just to check it out, just to notice how introducing a variation of what might be called moving in opposite directions, oppositional movement, now come back once again to taking your head, rolling your head, tilting your legs in the same direction. So you're revisiting the original movement and once again noticing how the head, the hips, and the legs set up their communication pathways with each other. Has anything changed in the way in which you coordinate your head, your legs, your hips, your feet, your ribs? Maybe something's changed, maybe it hasn't. You're just checking it out. And again, fine-tuning it so that it's a little easier, a little lighter, a little more enjoyable. It's easy to be curious about this. And reduce the movements so you're doing less and less and less. Come to the very center of the movement. We could call that a relatively neutral place where it's easy to go in either direction. And you just pause for a moment, and if you want, you can stretch out, take a full rest, or keep your knees up and feet flat, just resting all together. And simply becoming aware of whatever you notice. Are there regions of yourself that you're noticing now? Is anything, any part of you highlighting in or as awareness? Are there areas that you're occupying or inhabiting of your body, mind, that maybe you didn't before? Maybe, maybe not. You're just checking it out. Simply receiving, being aware of whatever the experience is. Often there are echoes and re-echoes for doing these simple movements. So you're just absorbing the effects of the movements, just resting and taking it in, just noticing how you have affected yourself. And then when you're ready, bring your knees up, legs up, feet flat. Find a comfortable distance so the legs are standing independently. You might notice that maybe you need to adjust the position of your feet to feel a little more comfortable, both in your hip joints and in your feet. Become aware of the natural rhythm of your breathing. And now bring your arms up and take hold of each opposite elbow. So the right hand is on the left elbow, left hand is on the right elbow, and bring the arms up so you form a little box over your chest that's perpendicular to your chest. And as you do this, let your shoulders relax completely. So the shoulders can have support from the surface you're lying on. Make sure that you feel comfortable in this position. If there's any discomfort, again, do less or don't do the movement at all. You're always being aware of whether there's any discomfort in doing less or nothing at all. Now, as you tilt your legs to the left and right, take your box, your elbows, in the same direction, a little to the left and a little to the right, with the legs. Slowly, 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 so you feel each part of the movement. And you might notice, of course, the legs can go a little further than the box. The box is a little constrained by your torso, and that's fine. You're adjusting to that. Of course, you might notice that your head naturally gets involved in this movement, which is fine, and any other part of yourself that gets involved. But do less and do it slowly. Remember, you don't need to go to the end of the movement. What you're going for is the ease of reversing directions. So there's no straining at all as you reverse directions. Notice if one side feels different than the other. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And can you accommodate these movements to the natural rhythm of your breath? You can make the movement as small as you want as well, so that somebody looking from the outside might see barely anything at all. Try varying the size of the movements. Add variety to the size. Don't just repetitively do the same size. Shift to try different sizes of movement at different paces. A little less or maybe a little more. Okay, and put your arms down, come back to the center. Take a rest in your arms. Just pause for a moment. You probably noticed that by having your arms up and doing the movement, you're involving your torso quite a bit more. And all of this is part of the design of the lesson. It's to find how the different regions of yourself cooperate with each other, help each other out with this simple activity of turning. Often these different regions of ourselves can get partitioned away or less part of the movement, less cooperative. So here you're just introducing some novelty in the movement to check out how do these regions participate. Now bring your arms up and form the box once again, taking hold of each opposite elbow, letting your shoulders rest comfortably. And this time, you're going to add your head movement into the mix. So as you're taking your box to the left, your knees tilt to the left, the head rolls to the left, so there's a coordinated movement of all these regions, almost like you're a cylinder turning. And you might need to do less in order to coordinate the box, your head, and the legs. So you don't want any one region doing extra work. You want the regions to find a way to cooperate with each other so that they're all in a kind of unified movement together. What's it like to create a unified movement, and which regions of yourself are affected? Can you feel how your spine gets involved, or your ribs, or your feet? Let your face, mouth, eyes, and jaw relax. Harmonize this with your breathing. Good, and come to the center and pause for a moment. And now, bring your knees and legs up over your chest and reach underneath your knees with your hands and arms. And roll a little to the left and the right. You're still doing a somewhat unified movement, but you're giving your back a little massage. But again, you're doing it in a somewhat unified way. Great. And you might find some region of your back that particularly likes that movement. You focus on it, that's fine. And then put your legs down. Make the little box again. And now you're going to introduce some variety. So you'll tilt your head and your legs in the same direction, but you'll take your box in the opposite direction of your head and your legs. So this is going to require an adjustment again. And the legs are standing independently. They're not bunched together. So they're supported independently. The legs don't sort of fall on each other. They are separate from each other in the sense that they stand independently. What's it like to do something we don't typically do? You have the head and the legs tilting in the same direction, and the box is moving in an opposite direction, and they all come back through the center at the same time. So it's a coordinated action. And are you breathing as you do this? Can you accommodate this movement into the natural rhythm of your inhalation and exhalation? And can you do this at a rhythm, at a pace, at a size that makes the movement a little easier to do, a little less effort, maybe a little bit more enjoyable? Something that feels a little bit more comfortable. Maybe something that's a little bit more fun or intriguing. Good. And then come back to the center, and one last time before taking a rest, take your head, the box, and your legs all in the same direction, tilting to the left, rolling to the left and right, slowly. And notice, as going and doing a variation, an oppositional movement, has it changed anything in the way you coordinate the unified rolling? Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. Notice if some regions of yourself are participating in a little bit easier way or making the movement easier. Good. And then stretch out, take a full rest. Once again, simply being aware of the whole field of experience, the whole presence of the body, the mind. Noticing whatever is appearing. If certain regions are highlighting in your awareness or signaling you in some way to pay attention. Maybe there are some regions of yourself that you have a sense of really more fully occupying or inhabiting or being aware of. And become aware of your pressure contact once again. And return to, if you were being dipped into a bottle of ink and blotted on a page, what's your ink impression look like now after doing these simple movement patterns of the lesson? Has anything changed in the contact that you have with the surface you're lying on, or your awareness of your embodiment? Maybe something's changed, maybe it hasn't. You're just simply checking it out, noticing how it is now. Now, one last time, bring your knees up, feet flat. Find a comfortable position for your legs. And now what you'll do is you'll tilt your legs and any other region of yourself that likes to join into the movement a little to the left and a little to the right, and increasing the tilting slowly, letting your arms be wherever feels comfortable until you notice that you're drawn to rolling over onto one of your sides. And just simply let yourself roll over, but let all the regions of yourself that want to participate in that rolling follow that movement. So you're initiating the movement, but then you'll notice, probably from doing this lesson, that a lot of different parts of yourself will follow the movement, will join into the movement, particularly as you play with going back and forth in the tilting, and then you'll roll over eventually onto a side. And when you roll onto the side, you can begin slowly to make your way towards sitting and eventually to standing. But when you roll onto a side, take your time. Take your time to go to sitting. You might want to crawl around a little bit. You might want to notice how the lesson has affected you before you just suddenly come up. You're not going to come up suddenly. You're going to notice how the lesson has affected the way you organize, becoming more vertical. So go slowly. You can use a chair or anything you want to give you stability. That's okay. Just taking your time, because there's no need to rush. And you'll come to sitting, and you can sit on a chair, but taking your time. Taking your time. So just coming to sitting slowly when you come to sitting. And eventually coming back onto a chair, eventually taking your time. When you do come back onto the chair, you can sit once again and simply notice how the lesson has affected the way you sit. And you might notice that maybe there are small adjustments that you make in the way you sit. Once again, just sitting comfortably, finding a comfortable contact of your feet with the floor, noticing how you like to position your legs so your hip joints feel comfortable, connecting with your breathing once again, looking out into your room, and notice, has anything changed in the way you sit? Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. Do you feel the weight in your sit bones, for example, differently? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And now slowly turn a little bit and look to your left. And slowly come back to the center and turn and look to your right. And notice which parts of yourself become involved in this movement. Come back through the center. And let's add a little bit of what you learned in the lesson from lying down into the sitting orientation. So you probably noticed when you turned and looked to the left and the right. You could do it one more time. Feel which part of yourself naturally gets involved in the movement. Is it in your neck predominantly? Is it in your ribs? Where do you feel the movement? Good. Are you going to the very end of the movement, or do you find an easy range to reverse? Good, and come back to the center. Now let's play with this a little bit. Put both hands on your thighs. And this time, as you turn to look to the left, let your eyes keep looking straight ahead. So your head is going to turn to the left, but your eyes look straight ahead. This is a very typical Feldenkrais movement. And you notice that's not natural. That's not a pattern that we typically do, because our eyes typically go with the movement. So maybe you need to do less. Can you do the movement so your eyes keep looking straight ahead? Because sometimes people turn and look to the left and then bring their eyes back, but that's not this pattern. Here you're looking straight ahead, letting your jaw relax, and turning your head to the left while your eyes look forward. So do much less than you can do. Can you keep breathing as you do this, or do you hold your breath? Do even less, even less. You can breathe. Yeah, so this is a little way to rewire your system, because it's a very atypical pattern. Very atypical. Good. And come back to the center. And pause for a moment and just absorb that. And then when you're ready, in a very simple way, as you turn and look to the left and the right, let your eyes look with your head turning into the movement. So your eyes and your head naturally turn and look to both sides. And how is that for you now? Maybe something's changed, maybe it hasn't, you're just checking it out. Slowly, slowly. In other words, don't jump to the end of the movement. Feel each part of the movement. Nice. And come back to the center. Maybe one more variation before we stop. Now with your hands on your thighs and keeping your feet in place, not moving your feet, sit a little bit away from the back of your chair. So your back is not constrained by your chair. You have a little separation between your back and the back of the chair. Now slowly, keeping your feet not moving, let your right knee come a little forward and your left knee come a little bit backwards. So the feet stay in place, and the right knee goes forward, the left knee goes backwards, and then they return to that neutral starting position. Just sliding the right knee forward, the left knee backwards, and do you feel how that introduces a rotation into your hips? Right? Just a little bit. You're not moving your feet. You're letting them stay in place. Right knee forward, left knee back. You'll feel that rotation starting to happen. And then come back. And then, keeping the hands on the thighs, the feet from moving, slide the left knee forward and the right knee back. And come back to neutral. Right, so two different orientations, the left and the right, both sliding. And come back to neutral. And pause for a moment. And then this time, as you slide the right knee forward and the left knee back, feel how that turning happens in your hips and starts to happen in your spine and makes its way up towards your head and let the whole rotation happen, and let your head simply follow the movement of the legs and the hips in its turning. So the head does not lead the movement. And come back. Come all the way back to your starting position. Don't sort of stay turned. Come all the way back to neutral. And do this a couple of times so that you do less and less with your head. You let your head follow your hips and legs. As the right knee comes forward, the left knee comes back, the rotation starts to make its way up through you, and the head and eyes and naturally follow. And as the hips and the legs come back, the head and eyes and the rest of you follows. So now your head is doing very little, very, very little. Much like the way you did this movement when you were lying down, now you're applying it in sitting. And as you do this, maybe introduce a little bit of a smile. Like, it's not grim, it's amusing in a way. So how does smiling affect the way you do the movement? And you can, of course, go to the other side too. You can let the left knee come forward, the right knee back, and let the rotation occur through that side. But doing it with a little bit of a smile now. Like, this is interesting, and maybe even fun in its own way. But smiling, changing the organization of your mouth, often will change the nature of the movement, how you organize yourself. I mean, one way to tell is come back to center, pause for a moment, and then do the same movement pattern, but with a grim expression on your face. And notice how that affects your rotation. Probably you don't even want to go there, right? It just doesn't feel that good. So just notice the difference if you introduce a smile, if your face is more neutral, or if you go to something that's a little more grim, you can feel how that affects your rotation. So let yourself find an orientation in your mouth and your face that actually feels pretty good for turning and looking and rotating. What is that? What feels light and easy in your face, in your jaw organization, that makes turning and looking feel a little lighter and easier? And of course you can bring your legs in. Now you can just turn naturally. You'll probably find that your hips and your legs naturally become involved in the movement, right? Notice how you initially did the movement. You probably just used your neck. But when you use your hips, your torso, and the rest of yourself, probably you'll feel a little bit of a relief in the neck, right? Less work for the head and neck, and more centered in your whole body. Good. And then just turn and look naturally without even thinking about anything and see how it is. Okay, and last thing is just to get up, feel how your weight comes through you, stand up, feel how your weight comes through you. And look out into the room. And simply, without thinking about it very much, turn and look to the left and the right, a little left and the right, turning and looking. But as you do this, let yourself use all of yourself, your hips, your ribs. You feel the difference when you use your hips, your ribs, your legs. If you're turning without using those regions, it's a big difference. Good. And then just walk around a little bit and notice how the lesson has affected the way you walk, what you look at, the colors in the room, how you focus your attention, where you like to look. Great. And let's come back and just come to sitting and just check in a little bit to notice some of the effects of the lesson, this Feldenkrais lesson, a very basic lesson. If you want to turn your video on, that's great, and you have something you want to say, that's fine, or nothing to say, you can just raise your hand. So just noticing, what did you notice? What effects did the lesson have for you? If you come back as you're sitting here and just naturally go back into feeling the presence of the whole body once again, you'll probably notice, we did this at the beginning. What's it feel like now in your embodiment? Do you feel different regions of yourself that you're occupying? Maybe differently than when you started. Maybe not. We're just checking how this affected your sense of being here, being embodied, your own sense of perception, your sense of how you feel. So anything you want to say, anything you noticed during the lesson, feel free to comment. Or if you have any questions, feel free. Yes, Jan.
I think I could go on for about an hour.
Yes.
Um, uh, I I've been a somatic practitioner, practicing somatic work, and body mind centering practitioner, continuum, Feldenkrais, somatic awareness,
Mm.
Charlotte Silver. I mean, you name it. I've been around it, and I was very aware through the work I've done over the last 30 years. I've worked a lot on the embryological and first year of life, so I was ready to go into baby live and start rolling over. Um, uh, but there were two things that were very that I saw right away. One is that you kept referring to it as a lesson, and putting that container around it, um, I realized that mostly I go through my life, like as a Buddhist practitioner, I go through my life with this expectation of always being mindful. And with this, there was this addition of all always with my somatic practices, always being aware of how my body is moving and so the idea of putting a box around it and having a beginning, middle, and end of the focus of attention, um, it actually had me laughing to see the usefulness of that.
Mm.
So that's one thing. Around the developmental work, I was born with severely crossed eyes, and so I had eye surgery when I was 18 months, and again at 4, and back in the 50s when it was a pretty rudimentary operation, with no developmental work. And so anytime I go into this kind of subtle work with going from one side to the other, there's confusion. And I've worked a lot with the confusion. But what I saw is since I've been working with the central channel in visualizations, I actually feel like one side of my body completely disappears.
Mm.
Like I get focused into the midline
Mm.
from one side. Um, and so I just wanted to know if you have anything to say about people who have had this alternating strabismus. I still have it.
Mm.
Um, So that's
That.
one of my questions. And then the larger question I have for you, Dan, is how you work with this, with the communication work, because I've done a
Oh.
lot of that work with you. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at creating a positive intention. And if you actually visit the body in
Mm.
those, do you integrate them?
Mm.
So,
So the first question is about if you have a kind of asymmetry around the sides in terms of your organization and perception of each side.
hmm hmm
And, with the Feldenkrais approach, typically you work with the easier aspect first.
Yeah.
And if it gets if it creates confusion or a lot of challenge, more challenge than is comfortable going to the other side, then typically with this approach, you just work on the easier side and just make small improvements in the easier side first.
Okay.
And just keep playing with, the Feldenkrais approach is really just keep playing with what's easy.
Right.
We're so used to, can we, no pain, no gain orientation, in society, but this is just the opposite. Just find a way to make it easier.
Hmm.
Then when it's easier, maybe introducing one thing you found that makes it easier on the easier side. One thing. Maybe it's you just notice, oh, if I just push the left side of my ribs down, that makes everything easier in the
Hmm.
rotation or looking or anything. And then you introduce that subtle change, just one element, into the other side in a really small way.
So one side is teaching the other, sort of.
Yes, one side often has a strategy that can be useful for the other side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing because everybody has asymmetry happening,
Hmm.
in how they do things. It's perfectly natural. And the two sides actually have a lot that can teach each other when you notice what each side does, particularly when one side makes something easier. So, and
I,
it's
I
often,
noticed you kept repeating that through the whole lesson. You kept repeating
yeah,
that emphasis on going for the ease.
yeah. To me, that's been a profound aspect of the method is that easier usually creates an overall improvement in functioning.
Yeah.
Less effort, smoother, lighter, easier to reverse. Reversibility is really key because if you can, our
Right.
habits, one of the problems with changing habits is we get into habits automatically. We're not familiar with how we got in and how we get out, the
Right.
path of action that takes us into something and out of something. So that paying attention to the reversibility of the movement allows you to see a path for coming out of something. And then the way that I connect this with the communication work is maybe something we can do further when we're doing that. It's sort of like when we're with each other, we have forms of embodiment that are quite varied.
Hmm.
And sometimes people get very up into the head region and they forget about their own anchoring through their legs and through their feet or occupying the legs and feet. It's very easy with conversation to drift up into the higher region of the body, which can get very heady, you know. And when you stabilize and drop through and feel the presence of the whole body, it changes the dynamic of contact with people quite a bit and the nature of the conversation sometimes. So it's
Thank
something. Sure. Thanks. Thanks for bringing all that up. It's really interesting. Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to bring? Yeah, Linda, go ahead.
I've done this with you a couple of times and have always found it very interesting and relaxing. But I had an interesting experience with nasal and ear congestion today. I usually try to get into some simple yoga pose to relieve it, child's pose or forward fold. And I've been particularly stuffy this morning. And when we started out with tilting the legs and tilting the heads, it was like all of a sudden it was all clear and it was so wonderful. But of course, I always want to know how did that happen and can I
Yeah.
do that again? But it was so interesting. I mean, I always find this very absorbing. So I was very into it. And then it was just all of a sudden, oh, I'm so clear. This is great,
Mm,
but I don't know how to
mm.
capture it and do it again. And
How
maybe
to
it's a
capture
matter
it.
of relaxing. Sometimes it
Yeah.
just seems to be a matter of relaxing, but
Well, I have my ideas about that, but
I'd be interested.
when yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just said I'd be interested in your ideas.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just how it is for me with this. I think everybody, the interesting thing about the method is you get to really discover how you organize yourself to create experiences and in terms of your own embodiment is sometimes getting a cold or having a stuffy nose or any of the, or ear things, you're definitely focusing a lot into the head region because
Yeah.
it's drawing your attention into the region. It's like, whatever seems to attract us, pain, discomfort, whatever, pulls the whole attention into that region. And the rest of the body often has some sort of resource for other parts of the body. This is something that's become really apparent for me through the method is that you notice, like in a simple illustration, it's like when you're turning initially, when you're sitting, using your head a lot, and then you bring your hips in. It's like, wow, your head can just relax. It doesn't have to do all the work. The big bony structure of the hips can power up that movement. So when you're, focused in that region very strongly, you brought your hips and legs and feet into just connecting through your whole vertical axis. And suddenly that region that you were so focused on just sort of relaxed itself, and you got the assistance of the whole body and the grounding of the whole body. So that
And
can happen very readily.
it just occurred to me now, though, that I forgot about it. I had to listen to something with headphones this morning, and that was really uncomfortable. But once we got started, I forgot about it. I just realized it was gone. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. So, so one thing that you can do with this method that's really interesting, or not even doing the method, is when you have some issue, this is another way to use this. When you have some issue that's occurring in some region of yourself, it's interesting to tune into it and then just pose a general inquiry to the whole field. Just say, is there any other region of myself that could be a resource for this? Without knowing the answer, without pre-thinking it, not even paying attention to the first thing that comes into your head, just sitting with that and noticing. I've done this with a lot of people. Often some other area will signal and say, I'd be willing to help. And I had this, for example, with a person who had a lot of uh, headaches and pain. And we were doing a session, and I said, well, if you tune into the whole, we did a little bit of a lesson. Anywhere else making a suggestion? And the person said, this is weird, but my feet are saying, if you just feel me a lot, maybe put a pillow against the soles of your feet, I'm willing to help. Now, this sounds really crazy, but
Oh, I like it. Like, hey
and
guys, can someone chip in here?
can someone chip in? And the person did that, and it's like about a 30% reduction in the head thing almost immediately.
Wow.
And then the person said, yeah, but it's not enough. I want more. So I said, well, check in and see if there's any other region that's willing to do that. Again, we just went with it. And there was a signal from the stomach, and it said, put your hands on the stomach now, too. And I said, go ahead and do it and see what happens. And the person did it. And it was sort of like the whole thing just sort of relaxed.
Wow.
So it's just, I mean,
Fascinating.
it's really just tuning into your whole sensory system and just seeing, since it's a big connected system, how other regions of yourself like to be resourceful.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Thanks for asking about it. Yeah, anything else anyone wants to say or ask questions? Yeah, Christine.
Hi, thanks for that. So interesting how these things arrive at the right time in life. Like
Mm,
I have headaches and um they've gotten progressively better just because I've learned so many things. But this week it's been when I feel the sensation, I've been opening up and seeing like, oh, how can we communicate with other parts of my body? And anyway, so that's fascinating. Um, but one of the things I noticed when we were doing the lesson was that I have this area sort of beneath my sternum, a little more on my left than my right. My left tends to have more sensation overall. That sort of like thought it needed to get involved in every little thing, like, and not even, and more than involved, like actually like have all of the attention or something.
Hmm.
And it was like if that part would relax a little, I could inhabit my body in a completely different way.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think this is unrelated to the fact that I've had a really difficult time doing yoga, strengthening my upper body, because when I do, sort of, I'll end up hurting something, or
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think there are parts of my body that just think they have to do all of the
Hmm.
work.
They sort of like see themselves as the executive.
Yeah, it's an
I'm
exact.
going to run this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, One thing you can do, and
mm,
Robin will come to you in a
okay.
sec. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Um, so one thing you can do that could help with that is just to, I mean, since we're playing with this already, is when you notice that that region is, I mean, people often do that, particularly from their jaws and their eyes. I mean, that the jaw and the eye have a big regulating effect. That's why I kept saying relax or smile. But there are regions that really just sort of dominate sometimes. Is to just pause and say, are there any other regions that would be willing to take over some of the work? And maybe just try moving a little bit in the whatever movement pattern you're doing, just tiny, tiny amounts of movement, and notice if there are any other regions that sort of could be involved or like being involved. Pay attention to the signaling. And if they do, you don't have to surrender everything, but just say, what's okay, so I heard something there from the ribs on the other side. Okay, maybe I'll let them be a little more involved and see how it affects it. So I'd just say be experimental. You don't want to, there are really, there are good reasons why certain regions want to be dominant. I mean, it's part of our adaptation to how we're living and how we're perceiving and the challenges we've faced. So, you don't want to give it all up at once. Anyway, I hope that, you can
Yeah,
play with it.
that's helpful. Thank you.
Good. Okay. And Robin, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for this whole session and the exercise. You know, what I found when I was really coming back into my body is that where I usually feel like tension around my heart center, I really felt it in my back and then like around my mid back, this tightness. And what I felt it was telling me was that it was trying to protect me in some way, you know, in a particular situation. So, and I had not been like kind of aware of it, but not as aware of that. Yeah.
Hmm?
So thanks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like a new awareness for you of just that aspect of yourself and maybe the function it was taking. Nice. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to say or insights? Yes, Anne.
Hi, thank you so much for this lesson. I just kind of want to share what kind of occurred to me. I was quite surprised how tense my eyes are, kind of really in almost all the movements we did. I was so surprised. I was like, oh my God, like you just talked about kind of the executive, and I feel like my eyes are kind of that. And also how hard it was for me to do less. Like I really could see how I kind of tried to do like the movement kind of to the end. And yeah, just kind of want to share that that it was really not like I mean I could change it. It was not too difficult, but I just could see my tendencies, how I really kind of worked from the eyes and also tried to do kind of the whole movement or something like that. Thank you so much. That was really
You're
insightful.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to play with it, there are lessons that can really help you with the Feldenkrais lessons cover everything. There are thousands and thousands of lessons that cover every part of the body, and there are lessons that particularly focus on very deeply letting the eyes relax and letting the other parts do more of the functioning. So you can always email me if you want. I can send you a link to a lesson for
Oh,
that.
that would be great. Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Thank you.
you're welcome. Hmm. Yeah, anything else? Good. Well, if anybody wants to follow up in any way, I think there is a link in the chat where there are two documents. One of them has a lot more resources about Feldenkrais. If you like doing this, I also do a class on Zoom on Wednesdays, a free class, um, where we kind of do these types of lessons, and we have this kind of conversation sometimes. So it's been going on for years, and you're welcome to join. Just email me. My email is on the document, but it's also com options, one word, COM options at Gmail. And just send me a link and I'll send you the info for the class. Or if you want a particular lesson, I can send you a particular lesson too. Yeah, feel free to follow up. So I thought we'd just end with yeah, Amanda just popped it in there, my email. I thought we'd just end with a simple kind of loving kindness meditation. And I want to thank you also all for being here and doing this. It's great to create a space to explore in this way, particularly during times where we need kind of to find resources, inner and outer. So in the same way that you just simply relaxed and you feel the presence of the whole field of your experience, the whole field of your body and mind, just simply relaxing, attuning to the breathing, and just resting in the natural rhythm of breath. Feeling the vast openness of just simply being here. And letting yourself develop some feelings of kindness, particularly thinking of someone in your life, someone or some creature or even some place where when you think of that being or place, you naturally start to feel a quality of loving kindness. You almost have that sense of that person or place being a kind of benefactor, of easily, effortlessly giving you that sense of compassion or loving kindness or peacefulness, whatever the experience is that that being or place brings. And letting just receiving that. If it helps to visualize the person or place, that's fine. Or maybe you just simply naturally can experience that. You sense that. And you just let that quality bathe over you. Simply feeling the whole presence of that quality of loving kindness or compassion or peacefulness. And how that benefactor or beneficial place can be there whenever you wish. You can just summon up that quality and receive it. And then taking that and maybe finding the language or words that fit for you. As I wish to be happy, let me receive this sense of happiness. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from pain and suffering. Just letting that wash over you. In whatever way that happens, with whatever language that happens with. And maybe you feel that particularly some region of yourself is really active in promoting that. It could be your heart region, but it could be any region of yourself that really is there as a resource for feeling that sense of peacefulness or compassion, loving kindness. And then bring that to other people, the people in the group we can start with, and just saying, in the same way that I wish to be peaceful, to be happy, to feel compassion, may all of you feel peaceful and happy and compassionate. So you're just sharing that, feeling that radiating out from yourself. In that way, we can all be benefactors to each other. We can silently radiate that quality to each other. And then as we do that here, we can open it up to everyone. Just radiating these qualities out into the universe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be freed from suffering. May all beings feel compassion. Just simply radiating in all directions, letting your whole body-mind just become a transparency in the midst of things, of radiating those qualities out around you into the universe. Just letting the waves of this sense of peacefulness or compassion, loving kindness radiate out for everyone. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings feel love and compassion. May all beings become beneficial for each other in some way. And just radiating that out towards everyone. And feeling your own body, mind, system just bathed in the qualities that you are projecting. So thank you for being here, and feel free to be in touch if you have anything you want to follow up on, and feel free to come to a class if you wish. Everybody take care, and hope you have a fun rest of the day. One thing I do recommend is walk around a little bit after this. Just walking integrates all this really well. Just walking, letting it all go, and noticing how your whole system wants to take all this in. We did a lot of different things that have effects, have ripple effects. So you might notice during the day perceptual changes, sense of ease, communication with different regions of yourself. Yeah, just walking, really good for that. Okay, take care, everyone. Nice to be with you.